just start with 10.5 wins, okay? It is one of the bigger numbers in the NFL, and it is really juiced to the over. Minus 140 at BetMGM, plus 115 to the under. To the extent that if you go to 11.5 wins, it's plus 135, only plus 135 to the over, and minus 165 to the under. Books are telling you this is an 11-win, maybe even 12-win team, but I wonder how difficult that is to do in a stacked division. Let's be honest. The worst team in the division is still looked at as probably 9-8, right? Whether it's the Steelers, maybe the Browns. I don't know. A lot of people looking at the Steelers, obviously, with the Wilson Fields combination at quarterback as the team to finish last in the division, but still looked at to finish with 9 wins, right? So a stacked division and the fourth most difficult schedule, according to Sharp Football, based on opponent win totals. All of that comes into play because, again, the skill positions, they stay the same other than adding arguably the best running back of this generation, or one of the best running backs of this generation, even if he's not getting any younger, and a lot of offensive line turnover.
Some of that I don't care about, but some is legit. They had a tough schedule last year, and they had the best record in football. And they had the best point differential, plus 203. And you get the number 1 seed, and you have the MVP season. It all worked last year. And you had a huge spike in defensive output, and man, I think that's a concern too. So you mentioned the offensive lineman. Yeah, you could say revamped, actually. Because, okay, you've got Ronnie Stanley and a bunch of new pieces. That's pretty much what you have. You have three new starters there, including a rookie over on the right side. So Stanley's got the left side, and then you've got a rookie over on the right side. Defensively, 31-year-old defensive coordinator takes over for McDonald. What? The inside linebackers coach, 31 years old, Zach Orr, is now your DC. I'm just as concerned about that. So who's going to be there to help him? I think that's interesting. Now, schedule-wise, as far as difficulty opponents, I'm not worried about it because they just dealt with that. What I am worried about is look at these stretches. There's some brutal stretches in there. The amount of games in a short period of time, it kind of looks like the league has just gone and said, okay, the top teams, they can deal with that. If they're that good, they can handle that. Okay, we got an 18-day stretch with 4 games. What's the Ravens? They were the best team in football last year in the regular season. They can handle that. 3 games in 11 days at the end. Whoa, that's brutal, man. So they're up against it with the just how the schedule is completely laid out. The offensive line, I have concerns. And then you bring in Derrick Henry. I don't think it has bust potential. That's the thing with the Henry move. It has boom potential, but I don't think it has bust potential because people look at him, he's long in the tooth, all this stuff. He's played full seasons in 7 of his 8 years in this league. So a couple years ago, he was obviously injured, but most of the time he's there. That is a big upgrade over Gus Edwards. Now the problem is the offensive line isn't as strong. So that's a big concern, and maybe we overrate it, but I'm always concerned about the outside, the weapons, and Lamar finds a way because so much is done with his legs. But still, okay, now Zay Flowers, you're a 1. Let's go. Zay Flowers. Hey, Bateman, we need more out of you. Aguilar, can you give us something? So you need Mark Andrews to stay healthy the entire season, something he was not able to do a year ago. If he goes down, man, are they in trouble.
That's the linchpin. I do expect Zay Flowers to step up. I know the end of the season wasn't a positive one for him, the end of the playoffs in particular, but I expect him to step up.
That was one of the worst games anybody's ever put together on a high stage.
Yeah. And at that point in the year too, that sticks with you. And a guy can either use that to his advantage in the offseason as motivation, or he can sit there and stew and linger in his mess and let it get him down and affect him in that way. I think Zay Flowers will bounce back from it. And I think he'll have a quality second year. I think he steps up big. But to your point, Andrews has to stay healthy. And that's harder to do. I mean, we're talking what? We're talking 6 years in the league now, right? That's not
Mhm.
getting any younger. We're starting to hurdle towards 30. And as that number gets closer and closer, I don't care if you're a running back or not, you're a skill position player, especially one that takes a lot of contact like Andrews does in the middle of the field. It's going to take its toll on you, as we saw last year, out for an extended period of time with injury. And then, there is still the possibility of Lamar occasionally. And look, Lamar has cemented his position as the top dual threat in the league. That's not to be questioned. The question, I think, is like, does is Lamar the kind of guy? And I think it's encapsulated in this story about him leaving practice after an hour yesterday, right? And he hadn't practiced at all the first 3 days, and he goes out there for like an hour yesterday and throws a couple passes, and then says, I don't feel good. I just wonder sometimes if Lamar is not fully invested, even. I guess that's probably the phrase, the term to use. Is Lamar fully invested 110% of the time? Does he have to be? No, with his athletic ability, and, he can just kind of show up sometimes, I think, and steal a game for you because he's just that damn gifted. But there are times where you look and go, Lamar, are you really engaged in this right now? And granted, it's the first week of training camp. That might be too far to go based on, I didn't feel like practicing the first couple days, and I'm kind of bored after this first hour of practice. I think I'm gonna go sit down in the AC. It's kind of hot out here. Okay. I don't feel good. I don't know. That part of it for me is always just a bit off with Lamar. Like, man, I know you're talented enough to be as good as Mahomes and Allen. I know it's in there, but like there are times where he just, I don't know, doesn't step on the gas.
Yeah, I'm concerned about him being sick all the time, and maybe it's just something you've got to deal with. Like, I honestly, it feels like we're talking about this 3, 4 times a year, and now we're talking about the start of training camp. But it's July. Like, I'm not really worried
Yeah.
about it. And without him, they have nothing. That's the scary part if you're Baltimore. If you
Yeah.
remove Lamar Jackson and put an average NFL quarterback, where are they in this league? And how they're going to have to replace guys, I think that's legit too. Um, Derrick Henry piece is going to be good, but I'm not worried about whether or not Lamar's engaged. Look, if Lamar wins the MVP this year, which by the way is very possible, he's 15-1. Hold
Yeah.
on. We've got some sports books putting a shorter number on Jordan Love than Lamar Jackson to win the MVP. I know it's hard to
That's
do
it.
back
Yeah.
to back, but we just saw Aaron Rodgers do it. If he were
Well,
to win his third MVP in 6 years, you know how many times that's been done? Twice. Twice. It was Brady? Nope. Has Mahomes done it? Nope. It's Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. That's the list. So, I mean, he is very close
so
to being in rare air here. Sometimes I feel like we're a little too hard on Lamar for everything he's accomplished. And part of that is the playoffs. We need more
yes,
in the playoffs. 10
that's
points
exactly what I was going to
against
say.
the Chiefs. Yeah.
When you look at the schedule, they're currently favored in 14 of 17 matchups, and 8 of them by more than a field goal. There are a couple big spreads in there as well, as they've got games, at home against Denver. They've got Washington at home. They've got a trip to New York to face the Giants late in the year. There are spots where they are heavily favored and should be. Vegas at home in week 2. But the schedule's also littered with a bunch of very difficult opponents starting week 1, the NFL opener against the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
So those 3 games that they are underdogs in that you just referenced, all in the first 5 games. Because after that, the last 12, right now, they are a favorite in every single game. So I certainly
Mm-hmm.
understand Jason's approach. Why rush it? Because these win totals, these division odds, they're going to be reposted and available for you every single Monday. That's just how we do it now with the competition among the sports books. And as you're trying to figure things out, I thought it was a very good point that he brought up. I mean, it's Mahomes, it's Dak and Lamb, it's Josh Allen, it's Burrow going
Mm-hmm.
against a brand new defensive coordinator, losing all these pieces, that could be trouble. So I'm not betting anything positive on the Ravens, but if I were, I would just sit back and wait. And if they come out, they have a hot start, okay, you missed the boat. You missed it. I'd
Yeah.
be willing to take that risk in those tough games. I mean,
Well,
you're starting at
yeah.
Arrowhead, you're going to Dallas where they just stomp teams too. Like that's going to be a tough start. But after that, if they can just kind of wade those, what if they're 3-2 after that? If they're 3-2, oh man, watch out because here it
Does that
comes.
Yeah, I mean, if they're 3-2, is that bringing the win total down under 10.5 though, given like you said the
No,
way the rest of the schedule stacks up? Like it's going to sit there at 10.5. Like they would have to
it'll go.
bomb out of the gate, right? They would have to go 1-4 out of the gate, I think, for that number to move at all.
Yeah, yeah, but you also have to lay some juice at 10.5, which I'm not interested in doing at all.
True.
As far as Super Bowl, I'm not interested. They're 10-1. They're the third favorite. They're the second favorite out of the AFC. Not really all
Yeah.
that interested for a lot of the reasons that we've been talking about this hour. So if I'm making a bet in that division, you're with Cincinnati. I can't argue that. The argument against it is Burrow health and Bengals bounce back on defense. Lou Anarumo. They were awful last year. Probably doesn't
Mhm.
get talked about enough because Burrow and Chase suck up all the attention and what's going to happen with Higgins moving forward. But that defense, they brought back a lot of the pieces that used to be there. So we'll see if they're able to bounce back. I expect some positive regression, but how good? Are they going to be in the middle or are they going to be a top 10 defense? If they're a top 10 defense, they're a Super Bowl contender. They're in the middle. Okay, they're maybe a division contender. Maybe they go over the win total, but we're not talking about winning a Super Bowl. The one thing that I would bet that stands out to me, and I don't think Lamar's going to get his third MVP in 6 years. It's just so damn difficult. But he's also being disrespected when Stroud and Jordan Love have shorter numbers. Like we're going a little bit too far. Now I understand he's probably not going to win, but we're going too far. I'm going to go under passing yards for Lamar. The number's 3250.
Right.
The first time in his career he went over that number was this past season. We had 3678 and he played 16 games. One thing we do know about Lamar, he's going to miss some time. When he puts together the entire season, he basically wins the MVP. And then when he doesn't, he underperforms a little bit. And we know what happened yesterday. And he's done after 1 hour. I'm not going to make too big of a deal about that. But I just look at the weapons outside, and he's done it once in 6 years. So I'm going to say under 3250 in the hook. We're getting a little bit of value because he had a career high in passing yards by far last year. And when your biggest threat is Flowers and he's got to step up, and after Andrews is like the number 2 receiver, it's Bateman or Aguilar. Good luck, man.